Hello, hello, Genesis. So I'm happy to have you here today in this podcast, Spiritualogic podcast. Here, I that's the name that I have chosen for it. So this is going to be an open discussion, an open conversation. So we can just co-create with the flow, however it's going.
Okay, sounds great. And thank you so much for having me on your show.
Of course, it's my pleasure. What is it that really captures your imagination, Genesis?
It varies. So now that I'm a mom, definitely capturing my imagination is my beautiful daughter going on magical journeys with her. Like right now, there's a book that she really likes about unicorns. So just thinking about unicorns and the magical experience that they create. Also, my fate also gives me some imagination as well because you're like, man, I wonder what it was like back in those times. How would I deal with certain situations and issues that arise if I was in BC times or going all the way back? Because some of the things that they went through then, yes, we go through some of it now, present day, but we have more innovation, we have more things that will help us get through some of those tough times. So even though history doesn't repeat, as they say, it rhymes. But as we evolve and get better with time, we have better tools and resources to deal with certain circumstances.
Yeah, you're right. There is a lot of things that has shifted from when we take our humanity as a whole and the times it has started. Even before BC, if like, we can even go back a million years before, and we still have an ancestor there. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here right now. So it's crazy. And back then, there is no living, there's no micro family, there's no living independently. The only way of survival is if you survive in a tribe, and you cannot simply be in a tribe dead weight or something. You have to be bolstering the tribe, have to make the tribe feel like you are adding on value to the tribe. So a lot of stuff, our if you really look at our ancestors, they were, it's not for nothing we say survival of the fittest, because we really needed to be sharp. And we are speaking, we don't really consider so many things, like the fact that we didn't even have language back then. It was just like we are really communicating through some voice and some gestures and things. So we needed to be having a lot of focus too. We cannot be absent minded and just not pay attention, because everything is going to be happening through the science, and you need to play your part. So you need to have many of these qualities that our ancestors had, which they have passed on to us through genetically. So it's just crazy to imagine, like you said, like all that stuff.
Yeah, and I would even say present day, like the way that everything moves so fast, like sometimes we get distracted easily, whereas back then there was not as much distractions as there are currently. So I feel like people were more in tune with who they are internally. So they had time to really do that retrospectiveness. They had time to do that inward self-reflection. They had time to sit and be present with themselves. But now in today's society, everything is go, hustle and bustle, that you sometimes forget to connect with yourself, connect with humanity, connect with your creator, whoever you choose to believe in, and just really understand, why do I behave the way that I do? Why do I think the way that I do? Am I living according to the religion that I'm practicing? Or maybe you're not religious, maybe you're more spiritual. Are you upholding your spirituality, or are you allowing people and things to dilute because of societal norms and pressure?
Yeah, even at least am I able to meet the life situations that's showing up in my life with more grace and with more harmony. And the faith and all the beliefs that we have, the things that we, the way we look at things. if everything doesn't allow us to harmoniously and gracefully meet life, then pointless at that point because it's not adding on, rather taking away from it. Because some people they get stuck in this, they are not able to be present in a moment because there's too much analyzing in their head. Oh, am I doing the right thing or am I doing the wrong thing? And that keeps them in the head, the either or uh, mindset. Or you can, the thing is, you will never know. You can never really absolutely know whether it's the right thing or the wrong thing because there is no there is no such guarantee in life, and you just have to trust whatever is going to come up. You can create with it an attitude, a trust in your own capacities. I think,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's almost like the saying, I'm not sure if they say it over there where you're at, is are you living or are you existing? Because sometimes we could just be going with the flow, but then living is okay, we're truly living internally as well as externally, whereas existing, we're just like here, we're just going with the emotions, we're going with the moods, and we're just in the present. We're not thinking about anything beyond the present or anything before the present. And I think there needs to be a mixture. In my opinion, I think you need to evaluate our past generations and what they have laid down for us in order for us to be better and thrive, not just survive. And then also future thinking, what are you setting up for the future, whether you have children or the next generation to come? What do you want others to say about you? And what do you want your legacy to look like? So take the end in mind and reverse engineer it in order to make sure that you are laying down a sturdy foundation. And I think that's a part of living, because not only are you living externally, but you're also living internally. And you're having those synergies with yourself, and it's all encompassing. That's how
Oh,
I would describe it.
no, I would say, Genesis, that's the most effective way of living because what you're speaking about in my own world, what we speak of, what we call it, is called congruency. You have congruency or alignment inside and outside, meaning you are clear on what it is that you want, what's the outcome that you want, and then you are going towards it with a congruency because you also understand that how you would be as a person once you have that outcome. So you need to bring that state also into your being and see what adjustments can you make to even grow that state even further. And then you are moving towards that outcome. And also, it's very clear. One thing also is very important, the fact that what's important about you becoming or you being that person and moving forward in life means, yeah, what's
Mm,
important to you about that. So once you have the value, the outcome, and the person that you are, once you have all of these aligned, then you have congruency. It's like a laser light, or we can shine it to the moon, and if there's
mhm.
like a reflector there, it will shine, it will reflect and come back. And the energy that's required for that to happen is 2.7 volt of electricity, which is little bit like more than half of what a 5 volt electricity, 5 volt bulb is, and a 5 volt bulb cannot light up much. Whereas when there's congruency and alignment, the laser can do accomplish a lot. You know.
I like that analogy, and I like the way that you explained it and put your perspective on it. Because as you were talking, it made me think about a person who has clarity, has determination, has self motivation, has that drive, knows that delineation of or who he or she is, what they want, what they desire, and etc. And it's all based on congruency. And I think more people need to really wake up to that, because we have some people who are just going with the imposter syndrome because they're afraid to show up of who they are out in the world because they're allowing people to tell them who they are. And so it's here in the US, I tell people, what do you they always say, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I was like, I think we need to reverse it and say, who do you want to be when you grow up? Especially coming from a non-American background. My mother is West Indian and my father was from Curacao. So the way that I was raised, even though I was born in America, is different than some of my American friends because my parents were foreigner. There are certain things that I can do, and you dare not question your parents because they'll just look at you that side eye and they'll be like, what? And you're like, okay, straight and narrow.
Yeah, Genesis, we do have all these things that also get programmed to us, like to follow the authority figure. So when we are small, we don't get to decide so much. We just follow what's being said by whomsoever we consider as an authority, and usually it's the parents. And they also, it's not like nobody is growing up perfectly. Everybody is growing up with all that stuff that their own ancestors have been carrying also. So it's a big effort sometimes, and some people just feel like they just don't have any energy. They just feel always so tired. Oh, I'm just so tired, and they don't realize why they are so tired. They're tired because they are not clear on the outcome. They are not bringing the state to the present, like that future state that they are actually seeking to the present. They can actually do that because all these feelings are within us. It's there to serve us, to propel us forward. It's not just for us to reach through external things. We have a wonderful faculty called imagination.
Yeah, I like that
Yeah.
you said we have a wonderful faculty called imagination. I would even say, like, when I was practicing yoga with one of my professors who were still really good friends, she was teaching me about the chakras, and she's Indian, and she was teaching me about some of the things that she cooks, and I was like, oh, okay, this is similar to some of the stuff my mom cooks, but just different ways of preparing it. And it was like we have, I think, 7 chakras, and sometimes whenever one of your chakras is off, then you can feel off. But sometimes people don't take the time to evaluate why their energy is low. Okay, is my energy low because it's internally? Is my energy low because it's what I'm consuming? So, what am I eating? What am I drinking? And then your internal, because like your mental health, your clarity, are you allowing stress, depression, anxiety, mood swings, or anything like that alter you? And then here, sometimes people don't believe in talk therapy, and I'm not, talk therapy could be really good with the right trained professional. So whether it's a psychologist, psychotherapist, just a regular person that you talk to, a life coach or whatnot, it is allowing you to talk to a non-biased individuals that are helping you unpack some of the areas in your life that you have locked and hid away because you were afraid to look yourself in the mirror and deal with some of the ugly truths that you have. But once you deal with the ugly truths and the areas that, are not so pretty, you feel liberated, and then you'll start to see how your body could have that homeostasis and has that true equilibrium, because now your chakras are going to be aligned. You're going to know why some of your energy has been funky and quirky. And then another thing here, like my mom believes, like you shouldn't let everyone pray for you because their prayers may not be conducive to you. Some people could be working against you. So also know who your surroundings are, because sometimes you think that people want the good for you, but they may not.
We are all human after all.
Yeah.
So it comes with a certain range of emotions and ways of being in the world. Yeah, it can be true. Sometimes not everyone can be having your best of interest. Sometimes some people can be envying what you have, not the same as being happy for you, right? Yeah, get it. But and the interesting thing that you said about some of these ugly truths. So you see, that's an interesting element for me, these ugly truths. And in my opinion, none of them are truths. I would say they are stories, but they are stories that you mistake for the truth. Once you have some of these stories that you mistake for the truth of who you are or how you are, that's when you get stuck in life, because these stories, they start becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy, and you start paying attention in a very particular way, so that uh, what you are picking up from the world, from the external world, matches up with the story that you're holding inside. So it's important that you change the story once you realize the story is just not useful to me. The story that when I am telling the story, it doesn't make me feel good about myself. When I'm telling the story, it doesn't make me feel connected to my power. When I'm telling the story, it doesn't make me feel grounded. If that's the case, I need to change that story. Take that memory, go into that memory again, and bring in, look at it from a different perspective. Literally, I have to go into a different perceptual position and bring in a more enriched version of the story in which I'm aligning with the strengths that I brought into the moment to handle it, rather than aligning with the weaknesses and how bad I did it, or how much of a failure I was, or I could have done it better, and all that stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
I like the way that you phrase that because I didn't think about it that way. So it's almost this is what I heard. So correct me if I misheard you. It's so the ugly truths really aren't ugly truths. They're narratives that we have told ourselves, and the narratives that we tell ourselves perpetuate some form of belief. And that belief is going to turn into a continual pattern of thought, sequence, and behavior. But until we analyze and truly realize that it's not a truth, it's a story that we have conveyed it to be true to ourselves, then we're not going to be free. So that's a great perspective of looking at it. And I like that you brought that up because then some people could say they're not really ugly truths. They may be ugly lies that have masked themselves as truths.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Uh, I think that was a really nice, and I have not prepared or anything for it. It's just like all free flowing, nicely.
So, for what you normally talk about, I know you're a spiritual thought leader, and we're going to get into that whenever we flip the roles and I interview you on my show. What got you started in your area?
Oh, I don't know exactly to put like a finger on where, can be really difficult because we don't really know. We can be influenced from so many places, but I actively, consciously, this capture my imagination, not just with myself, but I want to do this in my life with people too. If I'm engaging with the world in some particular way, I would passionately would like to work with reality. I would like to work with people, and working with transformation being the context. So that I think I came to that sort of it dawned on me when I was 21 years old. I think I was 21. I just finished a university in Malaysia, and I came back to India. I went to Himalayas with my friend and my girlfriend at the time, and it was, yeah. I think that's when it just I came back and I went again the next year to visit, and then I came back, and this time it was different. I came with a feeling of, okay, this is what I want to do with my life. And then I went on a very exciting sort of a mission where I wanted to create something. And I realized I don't have to just create. There's already so many stuff that's created. I just started picking up pieces from so many different things, which I found is really useful and is really easy to adopt and easy to make it work in one's life. I started picking pieces like that from so many places in this last 12, 13 years. And then I put it together and I was like, okay, I need a name for this, hence spiritualogic. The word came out because I wanted to come up with something that actually also conveys the fact that it's not the traditional spirituality in the sense like spiritual logic, meaning it's logic oriented, meaning there is going to be it's free of dogmas. It's I'm going to appeal to their rationality, to the logic, to the common sense of them. rather than asking them to take a massive leap of belief to what I'm saying. Now, hey, listen, this is the truth. Listen to me, man. And
Nice.
usually that's the case, you don't go for the truth.
I'm gonna hold back my other questions because I want to save them for my show. Because as you're talking, I'm
Yeah,
like, ooh, I want to ask this, but it's
yeah,
not my show, so we're definitely gonna have to
yeah,
save
yeah,
it because I want to unpack more. And I know
yeah,
you and
yeah,
I are just free flowing right now.
yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, okay. So I guess ours is in a good place right now. We spoke about a variety of different topics that I feel like would be really informative and would be just bringing in more clarity to the listeners watching this.
Yeah. So if you want, I could share a little bit more.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Let's go for it.
So I actually started my show out of a grief journey, and it's called Gems. It does not stand for anything currently. I just feel like each one of us as a human being has incredible gems to share and leave the world with based on life circumstances, experiences, cultural backgrounds, etc. And then whenever I lost my dad to medical negligence, I went through a really tough grieving period in 2020, which one, it was the pandemic, but then two, like my dad was almost like my best friend. Like people would say we were two peas in a pod, even though there was a lot of things that my dad would do, and we just had a really good bond. Instead of telling people about it, and they're like, "Oh, we live to die," or some cliche saying, I just preferred to talk into the mic because they couldn't really understand where I was coming from. Because a lot of the people that are close to me, their parents are still alive, so you can't really understand what it's like to lose a parent if both of your parents are still living.
Mm,
And so that really rocked me. And then the show morphed from me doing like solo episodes, talking into the mic, to interview style episodes. I had no idea that I was going to do interviews, Sonal, because I was like, one, I don't even know not a damn thing about podcasting. Two, this is just therapeutic to me. But then whenever I started doing interviews, there were actually CEOs who had their own podcast that were reaching out to me to host their shows. So they were paying me to host their shows, and they're, these are the list of questions we want you to ask them. And then I was like, if I could do that for them, let me just take this full pledge with my show, because I was literally beta testing interviewing. And then now I'm at 791 episodes. Yours will be 792 when I do your interview. And I like to base it on pillars versus niching down. So it's either to educate, inspire, and motivate, because someone definitely wants to learn something, because knowledge is not only taught in school. Who who says we don't need motivation? There are so many negative things in social media and on the news. Everyone needs a boost of motivation and inspiration to help them reawaken who they are. And then I like to pair it with DEI and B, which is diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, because it takes all of
mm,
us coming together to make this world a beautiful place.
exactly. We have to, it's a co-creation. I'm completely against this attitude of manifestation. I like the attitude of co-creating with the universe. Yeah,
Yeah, I like
creating.
that.
Yeah, we are all creating with the universe rather than demanding and just imposing our will upon it. It's like more of an invasive attitude.
Yes. And I like that because, like, in the past, someone said, "Oh, you can manifest what you want." And I was like, "I've manifested a few things, and it has not came yet." So, is that saying manifestation is not all that good, or do I really need to be more one with who I am and be more present? Okay, this is what I want. This is how I need to take steps in order to get what I want, versus saying, "Universe, I want this. I want $1 million now. Universe, I need it right now."
Yeah, it was like the beginning of the New Age thought movement when they just took it to disproportionately to a to a dystopian range where you create your reality. It doesn't really just translate exactly like that, but yeah.
Yeah, this is great. So, if you don't mind me asking, because I know you are more spiritual led, Did you practice any specific religions growing up with your family?
I was born in a Hindu family, but it's not really, we don't really have a very specific book or something in Hinduism. It's not the same. We have stories, we have Mahabharata, we have mythic tales of wars and things like that, Ramayana and Mahabharata, and a lot of these fable stories. But we don't really exactly have one manual, which we can call it as the manual that represents Hinduism or something like Bible or Quran, I would say. It's not the same. So I grew up in the religion, but it's way more fluidic and flexible because Hinduism allows a lot of different ways of thinking about the universe to exist, in my opinion. Because there is this ideas about people who are more aligned with the dualistic way of looking at the world. They're looking at the God being outside and they are praying to the God like that. But then there is also a non-dualistic point of spirituality in Hinduism where you see that everything is one and there is no division. There is only God, and God is all there is. There is a statements like Tattvam Asi, in all is Brahman, in all is thing. So it's just there is different ways of believing in Hinduism. So I grew up with mantras and chantings, and I would go to all the spiritual temples and everywhere with my family. And I would notice like how I would feel quite content and peaceful even without any particular worldly things happening. And I would notice, oh, that's different. And later on, I came to it when I started consciously meditating at around 2021. I started doing meditation and I was like, okay, this is like how I was feeling, like in those moments, like it's the same. When your mind goes silent, so I was like, okay, it's a recognition moment where I was like, oh, I'm familiar with this very much. So then I think I went into a direction of non-duality. I went into Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga is about like investigating the I, and you're always going back to the root of the I and staying in the inner silence. That's a practice. So whatever you're thinking, you're asking yourself, okay, whose thought is this? And then the mind would have to answer mine. And then you'd ask, okay, who am I? Right? And you stay with that again and again, stay with that root thought, I, and the I will just subside from wherever it emerged from. So that's the practice. So I did that kind of practice for some time, or not some time, it went on for years as part of my, everything went on. I do still chant mantras and I'm initiated in Tantra. So in Sri Vidya Tantra. So I have a tantric guru. She has initiated me in it. I have gotten Diksha. But so I do so many things, but those are not really part of what I would be offering or sharing with the world. It's part of my own sort of living.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay, thank you for sharing because it definitely helps clarify. But I'm not gonna ask any more questions because I have to, I want to be
Okay, well,
able
I
to
think
share with
we
more.
have to stop now because the time we have reached.
Yes, yes,
Okay, so I'm going to meet you in the other Zoom link, right?
yes. I will see you over there shortly, and
Okay.
you could give your audience my contact information if they want to reach me, which is genesisamariscamp.net.
Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah. GenesisAmarisKemp.net is my website, and it'll have all my social media links and etc. there.
Okay. So if anyone wants to contact you, they can contact via the website and then they get to see all your social links from there. Yeah?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
That is nice.
Okay,
It
chat.
was beautiful to have you here, Genesis, and I really enjoyed. this first episode, the podcast I'm having as someone as a guest in it. Beautiful.
Thank you so much,
Okay.
Samal, and I will see you on my show shortly.
Okay. Okay. See ya.